A very good evening to everyone. Thank you all so much for being on time this evening. It's really exciting to have everyone here, friends, family, old friends. I think everybody has been having a good time catching up. Before we begin, we're just going to have a very short video, and then I'll take you through the prize giving ceremony. We have a lot to celebrate tonight. A very good evening to everyone and welcome to Art Outreach and our 2023 IMPART Art Prize presentation. I'm Eve, I'm the Director of Programs and Partnerships here, and I'll be your MC for tonight. On behalf of Art Outreach and our board chair, May Anderson, our board director, Audrey Peng, as well as members of our board who send their regrets this evening, we thank you all for being here with us to celebrate this year's IMPART Art Prize awardees. As we go through the ceremony tonight, I hope you'll bear a little bit with the sound and the light. Of course, we had to find a balance between the wonderful exhibition that you're in, as well as the ceremony. So if the sound may not be the clearest, cut us some slack tonight. We're here and really excited to celebrate with all of you. We have among us representatives from our IMPART Advisory Panel, our IMPART Art Prize Chair Jackson See, as well as members Michael Koh and Jeanette Tan, members of our jury, Honor Hager and Adele Tan, media partners from Plural, from Art and Market, and most importantly, the friends and the families of our awardees tonight. It means a lot to have all of you gathered here to celebrate the achievements of the 6 awardees that we'll be meeting shortly. Before we begin the prize-giving ceremony portion, I would like to invite May Anderson, Chair of Art Outreach, to say a few words on behalf of the prize organizers. May, please.
Thank you, Eve. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's so good to see many familiar faces, some new ones, but a family and a community nevertheless. Welcome to Art Outreach. This is our new home. Art Outreach is 20 years old this year, and we are very excited that after 12 years of being in Gilman, we moved into double our space. Not a huge space, but we're super excited because we feel so grown up in this space, So this is the 6th edition of the IMPART Art Prize, and we feel really great about it because it coincides with our move, and this simply means that we get to show off our winners' work, something that we've always wanted to do, right? All of you that, Honor is nodding away, Jackson as well. We've always wanted to show off our winners. But what this space means to, give me 1 second, I see people who are a bit chilly, and I'm a mom. Ruth, do you want to turn up the air conditioning a little bit? Yes, is that the, yeah. Okay, I have padding, some of us don't. So sorry about that. But this space means a lot to us, and we also hope that it means a lot to people in the community. Most of the year, we will use this space as a free space for artists, curators, art groups, and so it's a very busy schedule. Almost every 10 days or 2 weeks, we'll have a new show. And we want them to use this space because, well, space is precious. Sometimes the artist tells us, I can only make works as big as my desk, right? So they use this space as a means to bigger shows, bigger works, but also a lot of these walls are movable. We also went to splash out and, we didn't get German fancy lights, but they're from Alibaba, but they work well because they zoom and they dim, and we are very excited about the physicality of installing a show, something that a lot of our young artists don't get to do, right? So we are happy that we're going to show off these three gentlemen's works with the wider public. But there's time to appreciate the works later. You're going to be hearing a little bit about the show from our curator. I'm not using their names because I feel like there's a special moment where we're going to say their names, right? So I'll leave that to Eve and some of our judges. But it's very good to have three of our jury members be able to meet in person. We have 5 jury members, and then 2 were in Paris and Canberra. So it was very nice that we were able to be at the Art Science Museum in person. Thank you, Honor, and the Art Science Museum. And we were so glad that Catherine and Russell dialed in. Now, you will hear as well more about the jury and the astounding work that they've done. I feel like firstly, we don't pay them, we pay them in love and canapes, but I'm astounded by the work they do, and I want you to hear a little bit more about what they do from Eve. But I also wanted to welcome a new juror, Adele Tan. You guys kind of know Adele, but I have to say this for the 1 or 2 of you nonsense people who don't know her. Adele is a senior curator at the National Gallery Singapore, and she brings a wealth of knowledge in performative practices, photography, and new media. Now, her subject matter expertise is critical to us. It puts us in good stead because we have a growing number of inter and multidisciplinary applicants to the prize, right? So we do have Adele helping, in a very meaningful way. Now, we've had the opportunity to work with our amazing and august judges for a while, and I look to their warmth and their encouragement and their support. But this year, or rather we met late last year, right? It was extra needed and extra special to have them rally around us because it was a very tough deliberation. Tough because there was an amazing pool of talent, but tough because we lost our jury chair. Tan Boon Hui, helped us conceive of this prize. He was a fearless leader for us. We lost him way too soon, and it was just so hard. When he left us in May, a huge loss to me. Selfishly, when I think about it, I know his enormous loss. I can't even process to the community, but he used to kick my behind all the time. I have a big bit of a esteem issue because I have 0 art training, right? But I call myself chairman of Art Outreach. He's like, get over yourself, okay? I studied geography, May. I'm like, okay, but he is a giant among us, and I hope that we continue to celebrate, his legacy. So we want to celebrate, I don't usually speak with paper, but I think I was worried I was going to be a bit emotional. I spent the first, 20 minutes of the jury deliberation kind of sobbing, right? But yeah. But here's how we're going to celebrate Boon Hui, okay? We give out 3 prizes. One of them we're calling the Tan Boon Hui Curatorial Prize, and you'll meet the very, very worthy winner in a while. So, we will do that, and we will have this prize given out by a dear friend, also, an art enthusiast, lover, collector, and patron, Dr. Jeff Ong, who's here with us tonight, and you'll be giving out the prize. And we also have another commemorative gesture for Boon Hui. In this new office and presentation space, we have space for a small library. And Jeff very kindly donated, oh my God, when you opened the storeroom and we saw all of Boon Hui's books, and mind you, the books were all dog-eared and sometimes in a bit of a mess. He obviously read every single one, and I love it. We still have some of his notations and some papers in there. And, it seats a collection, a reading room for artists to come and use. Michael, Michael Koh, who's on the advisory panel. I think someone in this room, Michael, besides Audrey, of course, Michael probably knows us the longest. He's been with us as an advisor and friend and supporter from the start. And Michael said, oh, I'm going to give you some books. So if you have books, give them. We will take care of them. I hope that you take a look around in a minute. Now, after 6 years of running this prize, we have established a little IMPART family. I don't only refer to you guys, the jury, the advisors, the board, our friends, but we have now awarded 10 artists, 8 curators, and 7 honorable mentions over 5 years. This is the 6th, and you hear, of course, about the 3. And I tell you, this family has done quite well. We are very, very proud. We can't claim to be responsible for all their success, though I try. But they've gone on to get international residencies. They've been picked up by galleries. They've been invited to do shows. They've been commissioned. One of our winners, Kimberly, has started an art space which we are tremendously proud of in Peninsula Shopping Centre, double space. So it's not just their success, but they obviously give back. And that's exactly what we want this prize to do. Send a signal, build a community. Okay, so it doesn't stop with our winners and our honorees. You know, we've gotten to know many artists and curators better through the applications of the prize. So even though we may not be able to award you with a big check, you can ask to share the proceeds with, you know, the young men. You know, those of you who are here, you know they're going to get some money, so dinner's on them. But, you know, we have seen the applications and we are impressed. So, for example, even in this year's SAW Commission, we work with a fantastic young artist who we met through some of the applications, whether it's to our prize, to the Heart program, or, you know, in the various open calls we do. Tiffany Loy was someone that we found and we fell in love with, and we got her to do the show. So we also recommend a lot of the artists to various opportunities. So send in the applications. We definitely, you know, are looking forward to marketing you as much as we can. So please do continue to stay committed and supportive of this award. We do need your help. There is no corporate sponsor, you know, for the last 5, now 6 years. So anything helps. 20 years of art outreach, right? So 20 bucks, you know, 200,000, you know, you do the math. Anyway, I wanted to end with don't worry, I don't have to have my wine, but how about a virtual toast to many things to celebrate? You know, please take a sip of something later. We're going to toast to Boon Hui's life well led in service to art, to inculcating and supporting and appreciating and, you know, supporting the practice, you know, of art. That's okay. That's okay, Mom. I heard like an anguished mom, you know. We are also going to celebrate our wonderful winners and honorees this evening. I can't wait for you to learn more about them from Eve, Honor, and Adele. And finally, we celebrate so many of you who are art enablers through the time, effort, and yes, money you invest in art. One more thing, we're also celebrating the birthday of Robert Zhao. Happy birthday, Robert. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, May. Sorry about that, Robert.
Yeah. So ang pao also can. Ang pao.
Robert was bao told tonight. So I'm very pleased to be coming to the prize presentation portion. You'll be hearing shortly from 2 of our jurors tonight. But as May said, I just wanted to share a little bit of a note of appreciation to our jurors. The gathering was, of course, bittersweet. It was the first one without Boon Hui. But it was clear that his leadership has left a really indelible mark on the way that proceedings are done. Every year, the jurors, from what we've seen, just go above and beyond in their duty. And this year's deliberation was no exception. It really exemplified that again. The exact content of the discussions, of course, they're confidential. But to share some insight, the jurors spend about a month reviewing all of the proposals in detail. In the midst of their busy schedules, May shared they do this on a voluntary basis. And yet, when we meet for the deliberations, we can always see that they've taken the additional time to do extra research on top of what the applicants have sent in. They take the time to go to shows if they can. They really read up. They go to everybody's websites, and they really advocate for the practitioners. And they take notes to see if they've managed to see any of the works in person. And their commitment really makes for very thoughtful and very in-depth discussions. We really appreciate and value it so deeply. Thank you, Adele. Thank you, Honor. To Russell as well, Russell Storer, Catherine DeViet, and Patricia Chen. Unfortunately, they're all overseas at the moment. But we are very privileged to have Honor and Adele here tonight to represent them. This year, every year, we basically quite optimistically set 2 hours for a jury deliberation, and we've never kept to 2 hours. I'm very pleased to share that after about 3.5 hours, I think, of deliberation this year, the jury agreed to award 2 artists and 1 curator, as well as 3 honorable mentions this year. So I would like to invite Adele Tan to start us off by presenting tonight's winners. Adele, please.
Thank you, Eve. And on behalf of the jury, I am pleased to announce the inaugural Tan Boon Hui Curatorial Prize recipient is John Tung. So, yeah, I've known John since his institutional days as a SAM curator. But now I have to say that John Tung is an independent curator and exhibition maker who has realized more than 50 new artwork commissions and site-specific adaptations, ranging from the minute to the monumental. Some of the many exhibitions he has curated include the 7th and 8th Singapore International Photography Festival. The organizers are here, yeah, in 2020 and 2022, and Open House's unique debate format program for the House Against the House from 2021 to 2023. I've had the pleasure of sharing this year's platform together with John at Tanglin Shopping Centre. If some of you who have been, thank you for coming. And projects that he has produced include the Forest Institute in 2022, a large-scale architectural art installation dedicated to secondary forest ecologies in Gilman Barracks, and The Gathering, a pop-up Chinese garden tea house experience in Chinatown. So the jury commended John's gumption and bravery in pursuing a wide range of projects in his independent practice, as well as his originality and humor in his curatorial approach and writing, which is very evident, I think, in the room today. Yeah. So without further ado, let's view the video.
Hi, my name is John, and I am an independent curator. My journey to become a curator, it's a bit of an odd one because I believe I do not have the training which most curators have. While most curators are trained in art history, my specialization, my focus was actually on cultural policy. So it was a little bit of a detour to enter the curatorial realm, but at the same time, coming from more of a policy, cultural studies background, I felt it was entirely appropriate because to me, an exhibition is the best way to deliver policy democratically. Unlike legislation where individuals are forced, obliged to follow a certain rules, with an exhibition, you can introduce ideas and people can choose to buy into it or not. And so that's how I really fell in love with curating. Of course, I love telling stories at the same time. So every exhibition is an opportunity to tell different stories. So right now I've been working independently for close to 2.5 years now. Prior to that, I was with the Singapore Art Museum. And working independently has been very, very exciting. It allows me to work on a huge range of exhibitions, be it commission projects, with commercial galleries or non-profit organizations. At the same time, I have more free rein to pursue my own interests, collaborate with artists, and realize these ideas that I have. So definitely one of the aspects of curatorial work that I'm most interested in and have been very interested in for a very long time is working with artists to realize new artworks, in essence commissioning artists. And so in the past 2 years of independent practice, one of my most memorable projects, of course, is the Forest Institute, which I worked on together with Randy Chan and Robert Chow. And it was a large-scale, site-specific architectural installation, which was simultaneously an archive of the Gilman Forest, and it offered people the opportunity to stay over and observe the forest. And that was one of my most beloved projects in the past few years. Well, I'm so excited and it's a great honor. I think it's a huge affirmation that I've been working in the right direction and that my work is noticed and the work that I've realized together with artists is getting this sort of attention. Working as an independent curator in Singapore, it's not the easiest thing. And so what the prize definitely does for me is buy me a certain ease of mind, at least financially. It allows me more breathing room to conceptualize future projects. At the same time, I do hope that the recognition also opens up more doors and more opportunities for collaboration with more artists and institutions and other commissioners of new and exciting art projects.
Thank you, John. It's my honor now to invite Boon Hui's partner, Dr. Jeff Ong, to present the inaugural Tan Boon Hui Curatorial Prize to John. Ladies and gentlemen, the inaugural Tan Boon Hui Prize recipient, John Tung.
So you'll know, John, that you're holding the foam check. But at 6:15 today, we've just transferred all the monies to all of you. Huh? John, we're good for the money, okay? So check your phone, it's in there.
Thank you, Dr. Ong. I'd like to invite John to say a few words as well.
I'll put this down first. Well, it's very ironic because every time I have to give a speech, for a person who has done so many curatorial tours, curator tours, I always tend to get a little bit nervous. So at some point you might see my hands starting to shake and things like that. It's really strange, and I still haven't figured out why until right now. And what I really want to say is a big thank you to everybody who has been with me together on this journey. It's been one really big adventure being an independent curator in Singapore. So firstly, thank you Art Outreach and the jury for honouring me with this award. It's a huge encouragement to keep me forging ahead on this, well, I would say a path less travelled in Singapore. Next up, I would really want to thank Robert Chow, actually, because in the years since I've left the museum, Robert has been a beacon of support, sanity, and great amusement very, very often. You all should see my Instagram chat log and what he sends me. Gwen, Jay, and the DEC team, you all were the first project that I actually worked on after leaving the Singapore Art Museum, and we're still working very, very closely until now, and I hope we will continue to work for many, many years onwards into the future. Not here today, but of course, Alan Wee and Su Pei and friends at O Open House. It's also been really fun to, conceptualize new formats of bringing exhibitions and telling stories to people. Away from Singapore, outside of Singapore, Op and Luk Tan and all of the good folks at Bangkok City Gallery, who have also been supporting me all of these years. And of course, Jasdeep, Sandhu, Aisha, Amrin, James Page, and team at Gajah Gallery, who I think I've done the most exhibitions at in the past 2+ years of being independent. I also really want to thank the Singapore Art Museum, as well as Susie Lingam, who hired me. They were a very, very crucial and important part of my formative years, and a lot of the values and approaches to thinking and making exhibitions really came out from my years there. And of course, all the artists and friends, who have been along with me for this adventure. A lot of you are not here now, but yes, some of that prize is going into our wonderful barbecue on Sunday, and I hope all of you all can make it. Next up, my number one fangirl and partner in life, Stephanie, and my sister. I hope it's my mom's making a video of it, so she would hear that I have not missed out her this time. I really want to thank her for enduring my years of arrogance, stupidity, and downright madness at times. And of course, most importantly, my parents for supporting me, raising me, and educating me, allowing, giving me the PM scholarship, as I like to call it, Pa Ma scholarship, to really further, my passion and my love in this area of work. So thank you very much, everybody. I will continue to do my best to, use the words of the SAM mission once upon a time to inspire humane and better futures. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. I'd like to invite Adele to continue with the next prize.
So, in the artist category, this year's winner is the quietly powerful John Chan. So John is an artist who works through the dimensions of unsolicited real-time performances and the circulation of mediated images, but he does so primarily from a position of a painter. John is guided by an attunement with the notion of the divided self and a sense of alienation, which is situated in doubt, a sense that one is stuck between two opposing conditions that one feels disconnected from. From this view, he has decidedly taken on local settings for his paintings, which you can already see here, choosing site-specific or specific sites and terrains that house these particular disjunctions. I must admit that it is through this IMPART Jury Prize event that I actually got to be acquainted with John's paintings. So I'm so sorry that I'm belated to the game, but yeah, I think you were one of the, more unanimous selections. Yes. So congratulations. And I have to say that the jury was impressed by John's unique position as a painter and his interest in furthering painting as a contemporary conceptual practice, as well as his very sharp and precise observations on Singapore society. So his paintings are really a reflection of ourselves. Yeah. Without further ado, yeah, here's the video on John.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm an artist, and primarily I'm focused on painting, and actually I take painting as a position, so it's not just a kind of medium for me. It's part of the identity of what I do and how I practice. It's how I frame all my thoughts. I mean, the whole thing with art began very young, actually, so it's like Star Wars, right? You watch the movies and you read comics, and yeah, I just wanted to do that stuff. I want to go into that, right? Then I went to LaSalle, and then in LaSalle I got exposed to paintings, and then I at the beginning I wasn't good at it. I was not good at drawing, I was not good at painting, I wasn't good at anything. And suddenly something happened. Maybe it's just one day I was drawing some figures and a live drawing class, and then suddenly the lecturer just says, "Hey, that's pretty good," and then something gets born out of that. Once I got to art school, it's like everything just got better, So yeah, something about me was always drawn to making art. Basically, in my paintings, there are two things that I gravitate towards. One it's more to do with the painting themselves, So I tend to paint in a way that is assertive yet restrained. So it sounds contradictory, but that also leads to the subject matter that I'm usually gravitating towards. My work is fundamentally concerned with this idea of dividedness. I started to realize it had a lot to do with alienation, and from there I learned that it's not a kind of alienation that it's like a very typical alienation is like a rebel one. It's more like it's that feeling of being stuck, like you're in between places. So it's usually those sorts of things that I look for in painting. It could be very formal things, but it also can have things to do with the content. Earlier in my practice, I didn't actually focus on Singapore, so it's just more like images in general. But I felt like when I moved on and became about Singapore, it brought things closer to home, brought things closer to me. So the subject I paint, sometimes they're ordinary people, and then the character of the alienated person would be me, the painter. I really do want to position painting such that it's not just seen as a commercial entity, but it's also something that can be taken seriously. It's almost like they're conceptual artists that allow the paintings to direct the ideas to somewhere different. Just getting the prize is like a pat on the back. First of all, it's affirmative. It's sort of like signaling to me in a soft way, saying, "Hey John, we know what you're doing. We understand it. We appreciate it, and go on. Keep at it." Right. So that's the first thing. Then with the prize, I have plans with it. I do think like a portion of it will go probably in the future to a PhD. I'm still like thinking about that. You have to get a really good research question in your head before you want to engage in that. And I feel like I want to take that on when I'm slightly older, so that it's richer. With the rest of the money, traveling. I'm planning to go to London and check out some Cézanne, look at some painters, meet some painter friends there, maybe go do some studio visits. All that stuff is really, I think it's part and parcel of what keeps you going as an artist, keeps the momentum going. Yeah, so it's very, very helpful, yeah.
Congratulations, John. May I now invite Jackson C., the chair of our IMPART Art Prize advisory panel, to present the prize to John. Thank you, Jackson. Congrats again, John. I'd like to invite John to say a few words as well.
Thank you so much. I think like
John is a good name for art, huh?
yeah, John and John. I think like John, I'm probably quite nervous as well. Yeah. So I guess I would like to thank everyone from Art Outreach, first of all, for awarding me with this prize, right? And also, I'm kind of appreciative that they extended the age limit a bit, because that, that allowed me to sort of take part. And it's because it's a good thing because not all of us, figure it out at the get-go. Some of us, it takes a while to understand what you're about. And I wrote here. So for me, trying to understand what you're about, the way in which you try to express yourself as an artist is like unraveling a mystery. And so not everyone gets that at the first go, or maybe sometimes not at all, right? Because it's a mystery, right? I also like to thank the panel of judges, right, for really taking the time to look at my work. I think that's the best thing an artist would ever want, right? To be, to have that time, the patience to look at a painting, video work, right? So a major part of my work is that idea of a divided self, and I look at Cézanne a lot, right? And Cézanne has that sensibility, and it's almost a magical thing that you can connect with someone that's so far away. And May, earlier you were talking about Boon Hui, so there's a magical thing also with art, right? That you can connect with, even with people who are no longer with us, right? Yeah, so for the judges to pick up on that quality, a quality that's not so straightforward, it's a bit contradictory. Someone like Cézanne is very contradictory. That's really, really, really like special for me, and I'm very, very thankful that you managed to see that, right? So it's really, really, really helps me. Okay, so now I really get into the thank yous. So I'll thank my mom who's here. Yeah. I thank my partner Jody also for being encouraging and for all the support all these years, Also all my friends, all my close friends, my friend Melissa, Chris, you're here. So in a sense they're representative of all my friends, right? They've been there for me. And all my mentors, Melenko, you're here, Ian, especially you two for, being there from the beginning, always, believing in me, even in my lowest, darkest periods, you guys have always been around. I'd like to thank Jason Wee, he's not here, for, helping me see my work, looking at my paintings and thinking about the psychological aspects of it. And I feel like from conversations with him, I got a lot of the major themes in my work. And my friend Sherman Sam, I've been hanging out with him recently. So Sherman's really been pushing me to try different things and just like challenging me, not to be comfortable. And lastly, I want to thank my friend Jonathan Nichols. He's not here, he's in Australia. So Jonathan has really been very instrumental to my thinking around painting the last few years, and really helping me see that these things, these paintings are sort of magical, they're alive. And so they're like quasi-subjects, they're somewhat alive. And I feel like when you understand something like that, it's really, it really just transforms the whole process and it makes everything magical, right? So thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, John. Congrats again. I'd like to invite Adele to present the final prize for tonight.
So our third winner in the artist category is not a John, but he's a Chan. So they share the same surname. So as you know, our third winner is Kent Chan. Kent is an artist, curator, and filmmaker based in the Netherlands and Singapore. His practice is porous in form, content, and context. and revolves around how we encounter art, fiction, and cinema. So he holds particular interest in the tropical imaginary, past and future relationships between heat and art, and the legacies of modernity. That's a lot of stuff together. The works and practices of others often form the locus of his projects, which have taken the form of film, text, conversations, and exhibitions. He is a current resident at Media Lab Matadero in Spain in 2023, and was a former resident of Gasworks in 2022 in London, and at the Jan van Eyck Academy in 2019 and 2020. And Kent is proof that if first time you don't succeed, you try again. And that's the beauty of the IMPART Prize. We don't say no to you. Yeah, so just keep submitting. Ken previously received an honorable mention for the IMPART Art Prize in 2022. And this year, the jury applauded his achievements in continuing to develop a refreshing body of work with significant social-cultural discourse that demonstrates a consistent and committed engagement to research and fictional cinema. Yeah, so let's watch Kent's slides or video.
My name is Ken Chan. I'm an artist, curator, and filmmaker currently based in Singapore and Amsterdam. So my formal training is in filmmaking, and then after graduation I worked with different artists, particularly video artists. And along the way became a curator, and through that again becoming an artist where I focus on my own individual practice. And I always kind of talk about how being an artist allows me to explore ideas, but very often for going back to my filmmaking training and allows me to work with stories. And what ties together is also this idea of curating, where I collaborate with other people and other artists, and together they all kind of, I always talk about them as a triumvirate of relationships that kind of come together. I've been working on a series of projects that is based on observations that the tropics is actually expanding climatically. And a lot of these work take this fictional premise whereby in a far-flung future where the whole world has become tropical. And through that, very often I explore different ideas of how climate demarcation might also affect culture demarcation, how changes in one affects the other, and how the movement of people, and fundamentally the past, present, and future relationship between art and heat, which is very much, I guess, in a way, a cornerstone of my practice. So I think the cash prize accords me a certain level of sustainability and stability within my practice for the short to mid-term. And I think what's very specific about that is it allows me to have a little bit more calm and time to kind of focus and just really give my practice time to kind of develop on its own organically. What it also allows me to do is to work more collaboratively within my projects. A lot of what I do very often involves working with other people, and that means a certain amount of commitment to other people's practices as well, beyond what I do on my own. And this cash prize would accord me a certain amount of flexibility in how I choose and work with all these different collaborators.
Congratulations to Kent. You may have noticed Ken unfortunately is not with us tonight. He's currently in Spain undertaking his residency. He sends his apologies, but we have a very special guest who is going to receive the prize on his behalf, Milenko Ferbaki, Senior Fellow at LaSalle and the former Dean of LaSalle for 17 years. Milenko's presence is very symbolic because all three of the winners were former students of LaSalle, actually. So may I please invite Jackson again to present the prize and Milenko to receive it on Kent's behalf. Thank you, Jackson. Milenko, would you like to say any words? Just
My God, I was really thinking about three Johns, but Adeline took it out of me. But when I was young, I don't smoke, but when I was 16, I have to try, and first box of cigarettes was Kent. So I always have problem with names, not only in Singapore, but I was so happy when they invite me to take award. I said, at least I will remember his name and I will not make mistake. My mistake only is that I was dean in LaSalle for 28 years, and I'm very happy to be some kind of part of their, not direct, only John, but part of their development. And congratulations to all of you, and I think this is a crucial moment to get $20,000, especially if you are not alcoholic. Thank you.
thank you, Milenko. Kent has also sent in a video to express some of his thanks.
I would like to thank Art Outreach and the jury for the IMPART Art Prize for this award. It means a lot to me, the confidence, the recognition, and the potential that they see in my practice and in the work that I've been doing. Moving ahead, I would like to use this prize as a springboard to further invest into my practice and in my future projects. I would also like to use this opportunity to thank my friends, colleagues, collaborators, and especially family, both in Singapore and in Europe, and the belief that you've shown me throughout the time I've been doing this. A lot of what I do is only possible because of the support all of you have shown me, both in proximity and at a distance. It really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Wonderful. It's very useful having a filmmaker win the prize because Ken shot all of his videos for us and sent them over. So I would now like to invite Honor Hager, fittingly, to present this year's honorable mentions on behalf of the jury. Honor, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Eve. Thank you, May. Thank you, Jackson. I've been part of the IMPART Art Awards since the beginning, and the deliberations every year are really one of the things that I most look forward to in the art calendar. It's an absolute joy taking part. I also want to thank Robert for the invitation to his birthday party tonight. That's very thoughtful of you to invite us all here, Robert. Thank you. As you may have gleaned from Eve's kind of comments earlier, the honourable mention kind of category is really important to the IMPART Art Awards. We introduced it quite recently in 2021 to acknowledge a year where we had an extraordinary kind of body of applications in both the artist and the curator categories. And it's an opportunity for us to acknowledge kind of artists and curators who are making enormous and rapid strides in their practice. So I am really excited to be here to announce the honourable mentions, because I think these kind of practitioners are not only ones to watch for the future, but ones that we need to be watching now. So the jury have decided this year to hand out 3 honourable mention awards, and I have the great honour, of course appropriately considering my name, to give out these awards. The first that I'd like to announce kind of is our honourable mention kind of in the artist category, and this goes to Salty Ng. Salty is such an exciting artist. She's the co-curator of semi-fictional paradigms around issues such as ageing, spiritual expression, eroticism, as well as the intersections of identity, ritual, and cultural lineage. Having worked with seniors, prisoners, and street performers, she's currently researching Chinese ancestor worship. Her transdisciplinary practice incorporates humour, care, subversion, play, discomfort, institutional critique, and a celebration of the eccentric. The jury were really, really impressed with Salty's bravery and the topics that she engages with, and we see enormous potential in the discursive nature of her practice that's consistently engaging with a wide variety of social issues. So I'd like to welcome Jackson C. from IMPART to come up, and we're going to hand out the award to Salty.
So in addition to the plaque this year, Salty and all the honorable mentions are receiving a copy of the C, Contemporary Art in Southeast Asia book. This is a compendium that was recently co-published by Art Outreach and the Institutum. It features 64 key artists in the region. So that's a copy for you. Congratulations again, Salty.
Salty, congrats. No doubt she will be in the new edition. The second honourable mention award tonight goes in the curator category, and I'm thrilled to announce it goes to curator Clara Pei. Clara is an exceptional young curator with a very promising future. Her timely and relevant work around new technologies and digital culture has a strong focus on both the possibilities and the challenges that have emerged around NFTs. Clara is currently the curator for digital for Art Dubai in 2023 and is literally about to get on a plane and go there, as well as the founder of NFT Asia, a digital art collective with 20,000 members, if I'm not wrong, and counting. She was, until earlier in this month, kind of the art lead and curator for Appetite here in Singapore, and now, like John, is an independent curator. The jury commended Clara for the boldness and her thoughtful approach to curating shows around NFTs and blockchain art. We were particularly struck by her ability to situate these new practices within an art historical context. We also noted her entrepreneurial spirit in forging international connections, and we very much look forward to seeing her develop as an independent curator. So I'd like to welcome Jackson back to our mini stage here and to welcome Clara up to receive her honourable mention prize.
Congratulations. I would also like to invite shortly Clara to say a few words. And I'm sorry, Salty, I forgot, but I would invite you back to say a few words of appreciation as well.
You go first and then we can. Sorry.
There's a lot of things to hold.
I'm so sorry. A lot of chaotic energy. I'm just going to pull my notes up. Okay. Firstly, thank you to Art Outreach, the board, and the panel of judges for this honor. I think it really means a lot to me, and it came in this moment when I was deciding to make this shift in my work and practice from being the art lead at Appetite, where I had been for 2 years and had learned a lot and grew and experienced a lot of, just tremendous things, into becoming an independent curator, which I am extremely terrified about and just feel very nervous about. But I think I guess I want to share very briefly about my journey and just what this all means to me. So I kind of made the decision to start working in the arts when I was at Yale and US College. And I was an economics major. And I had taken up this internship with the Economic Development Board of Singapore, and I was assigned to work in the visual arts team. And my assignment then was to try and understand what was the value of the art market, or the strength of Singapore as the Southeast Asia hub, the question we're always asking. And what came up again and again in all the conversations and research that I was doing was that it seemed like there was sort of a separation between the art world, or what's perceived as the critical kind of research independent side of the art ecosystem, and the market. And that sort of prompted me, as well an economics major, to think about if there were ways that I could foster or contribute to sort of in-between spaces between these ends, which are really not so separate at all. And so coming back to Singapore after my master's during the pandemic, I was like, oh, great, now I got nothing to do. And I left my economics major to pursue the arts. And now my parents are going to be very disappointed. And then I reached out to Nadia, whom I'm extremely grateful for. Nadia is the editor, the managing editor of Art and Market. And she was the first platform I pitched to write. I had practically zero experience when I did, and she took me on and has been, I think, a really generous mentor since. And from there, I sort of furthered going into the art, sort of traditional art, I guess, track. And Nadia, again, was the person who assigned me to cover a piece on NFTs in Southeast Asia, and very early in 2021. And although I had heard about them, I thought crypto was not my thing, it's for the crypto bros, but only when I was really pointed to look at sort of what was happening in this art area of the technology and ecosystem that I took it more seriously and realized that I was wrong. And that there were a lot of digital new media artists who were really using this ecosystem and infrastructure to seek out and build sort of new pathways and explore new possibilities, not only for their practice, but really to rethink what the art ecosystem and its infrastructure can look like. And that's also a lot of what I'm hoping to reflect with Art Dubai's curation this year. So a lot of that, I think, is thanks to people like Nadia, who sort of pointed me and nudged me along, told me, that things will be okay. Kathleen, who's at the National Gallery, who's been very, very generous with all of our conversations and learnings throughout the process. And TUCCA, which gave me a job when I thought I would be jobless. Appetite and Ivan for trusting me to run a whole art program with practical no experience. My friends and collaborators, like Siobhan, who's here today, in NFT Asia, who have given me, I think, a lot of purpose, a practice that I realized I could start to develop, but most of all also to my family, who trusted me when I said I wanted to make the switch, who have gone to most exhibitions that I've worked on, who tolerated me whenever I said I wanted to go to some obscure show, no matter where we were, and for just, I guess, trusting me that things were going to turn out. And I'm rambling now, so I'm going to stop. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Clara. Thank you, Clara.
Yeah, as we invite Salty up belatedly to give some remarks, I just want to make note, Salty was actually featured as one of our Hearth artists when we were in our old space. She was in the 3rd edition of Hearth, I believe, doing a show with Roy. And Hearth has since supported 153 artists. Yeah.
Hi, if I'm shaking, it's because I'm cold, not so much because I'm nervous. When I got news that I got the honorable mention, I was very surprised because I think a big part of what I do, which are collaborative or relational or socially engaged practices, don't look like what Art Outreach has traditionally given the IMPART Art Prize for. So I'm really, really glad that socially engaged practices, relational practices are getting more attention and being brought into, I guess, recognition in the contemporary art discourse. I think is much needed in our world today, and something that I'm really, really passionate about. Big thank you to the jury. As John Chan, the one with the luckiest name, said, like to have people really look at your work and take the time and then speak about you with, glowing perspectives is so deeply moving, because being an artist can be so a struggle every single day, questioning why we do what we do and how much we're making anywhere in the world, but especially in a place that is as cruel as Singapore can sometimes be. So thank you so much for the encouragement. It really means a lot. And congratulations, Art Outreach, on your new warm space and wonderful evening, and also to all the other winners and honorable mentions. And I want to thank my family and all my friends, especially artist friends who go through a lot of the same thing. Ela for being my date tonight, and for being there for me, and other art friends in Singapore, who have supported me and whom I continue to be inspired by all the time. And every single one of my collaborators and participants, a big part of my practice wouldn't be possible without those people stepping out of their everyday lives to see something unusual happening that they are being invited into, and having that curiosity or bravery to experience it with me. Just a curious little girl who wants to make some art. So thank you everyone.
Congratulations, Salty. I just want to make a note that Salty and her guest Ella, who are so wonderfully coordinated tonight, they were both previous Hearth artists. So thank you, Ella, as well, for showing in our space.
Our final honourable mention award tonight is also for a curator, Ian T. Ian is a curator, an artist, and a writer who is interested in both art making and how it's considered within a historical and cultural context. He aims to centre the experience of artists in his curatorial projects. We were really impressed with his 2022 exhibition, We're Young Once, that addresses what it meant to be a young artist at different points in Singapore's history. Ian's wearing the T-shirt from the show, which you're going to Ian's also an associate editor at a publication we've heard a bit about tonight, Art and Market, a multimedia platform focusing on Southeast Asian art. He's written monographs of many underappreciated artists, such as Vincent Hosington and Fajid Sidak. The jury commended Ian's intellectual practice and the clear resolutions and the issues he put forth. We're really looking forward to seeing how Ian's curatorial practice will continue to grow in the coming years. So may I invite Jackson back to the stage to present the award to Ian.
Congratulations, Ian, and we maybe invite you to say a few words as well.
I think thank you so much to Art Outreach and the IMPART jurors for the very generous feedback and also the affirmation about the work that I've been doing for the past few years. The next group of people I'd like to thank actually the teams at Art Agenda and the National Arts Council. Without their support, We're Young Ones would not have been possible at all. And perhaps to give a little bit of a backstory behind the exhibition, that actually only started with a very simple elevator pitch during, the COVID lockdowns. I told Wang Zhineng, who is the founder of Art Agenda, I want to curate a show where the premise, it's like a group exhibition, a graduation show, but of works across Singapore art history. So it's like a graduate show that would have been impossible otherwise, and that's really the premise of We're Young Ones. And so it's very much a practice of thinking very reflexively about my own position as both a curator and an artist, and what does it mean to be a young artist at different points in history. I'd also like to thank my family and also my gallery, Yavu's Gallery, as well as Art and Market for supporting me since I've graduated from LaSalle. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations again to all the honorable mentions. Thank you, Honor, as well, for presenting them. I just wanted to make a note because I noticed that John has just popped out and we do need him back for the next segment. But you are in this wonderful new space here. We've had two artists that you've heard of who've showed in Hearth before. We will be running another edition of Hearth coming up. The open call will be going out for it for the next edition shortly. But we will have a suite of about 10 projects taking place for the next few months, all the way from March through to July. But as a little bit of a backstory, because I think Hearth is a very important space for art outreach into the art community, since we launched it during COVID, we've had 4 editions of Hearth, 38 different shows, and 153 practitioners supported. So we really look forward to seeing what else is on show at Hearth coming up. I guess since John is not back yet, maybe we'll go on to the next part of the presentation first. So before we conclude this evening's presentation, we have one more special segment, and it's especially lovely for us because tonight Art Outreach has been giving out prizes, but we are now instead on the receiving end of some things. This is the second year that we have received the support of our youngest patrons on record, Cameron Chow and Ella Chow. With the support of their parents, Cameron and Ella conceived of a fundraising project to design, produce, and sell Christmas cards to support their chosen charities. Last Christmas, Cameron and Ella managed to raise a total of $8,250 through selling these cards that they have drawn. And they went towards 2 charities, the Association of Singapore Dogs, as well as Art Outreach. So I would like to invite Cameron and Ella up here to present a check for $4,250 to Art Outreach, and May Anderson, our board chair, to receive it on Art Outreach's behalf. And can I also invite... Thank you so much, Cameron and Ella. Thank you for being young art patrons and advocates for art. I'd also like to invite Audrey, their parents, Audrey and David, up for a photo, please. Thank you for setting an example, for encouraging.
Come on, family photo. You're already complaining, it's embarrassing. Sorry, guys, sorry.
Thank you. Now, we have much to commemorate this evening. I hope you'll indulge me as we just invite some of the winners up to take some group photos before we end the night with another segment. Can I please invite up to the front the 2 Johns, our double John nights, for a group photo. And can we give a round of applause to John Chan and John Tung again? Will you help to hold it for Kent in his honor? Congratulations. And can I also invite, John, you can remain, the 2 Johns, you can remain. It's very easy to call both of you, I just say John. And can we invite the honorable mentions up as well for a photo? Salty, Clara, as well as Ian. Okay, it's going to get a little bit crowded up here, but I would now like to invite our jury members, our Art Outreach board members, as well as our advisory panel members. Would you please come on stage? Jackson, Jeanette, Michael, thank you all for your support over the years. And Jeff as well, please, Dr. Ong. Congratulations. We did. We did want to invite the families, but I think that comprises everybody in the room. So I think we'll take some photos later. If you don't mind, we'll grab you. Before we end, and I release you to have some drinks and food and mingle and talk to each other, I just want to invite John Tung to say a few words about the exhibition that you're in. John curated the show that you see tonight. Thank you, John.
Hi. So I'll just give a really brief introduction because we've got some lovely canapes waiting for us behind over there. And I just want to say that, the starting point of this show was, hey, would you guys like to put together an exhibition together, with all three of the winners? And, me, who is always the number one yes man, oh, new project, yes, didn't realize, actually what I was getting myself into. But I think the really lovely thing was the conversations that I could have with both John, other John, as well as Kent. And then I realized that, as an award winners kind of exhibition, in such a space, we would never really be able to, show, the entirety of our practice, everything about who we are. And I felt like that was the best way to kind of ground this exhibition. And to say, to title the exhibition Personal Profiles, it's not really even a biography of sorts. It's just really to get a glimpse of a person's face, a glimpse of what they do. And so in that respect, the exhibition really just emerges almost as an invitation to get to know each individual a little bit better. The works in the exhibition were actually largely chosen by the artists themselves. So in that respect, the curator did not have so much reign in terms of dictating what the artist should do, what the artist should not do, but rather my main question to both John and Kent was, what do you think defines you best? How would you like to put your best foot forward and introduce yourself to other people? And then that's pretty much how this exhibition came about. And so I would like to invite everybody to, take that time, that time that all the artists clearly love so much, to look at the works and to understand them better. Well, John is here. We can get Kent to probably film a video and a video response if you have questions for Kent. But please enjoy the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. So we've come to the end of tonight's prize giving ceremony, but again, I interrupted you at the start of tonight. There were a lot of wonderful conversations happening. So I would like to invite you to take the time, spend the time in the space, enjoy the exhibition, enjoy the canapes and the drinks, and thank you all again on behalf of Art Outreach for being here with us tonight.